flap, 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 flap. And my mom was like, why are you flapping your hair at me? I wanted to share 5 things with you from my childhood and my childhood experiences that I think, looking back now, I think should have led me to a diagnosis. First of all, I have to say I'm very, very cold. Very, very, very cold right now. We keep our thermostat at 70 degrees. 70. Most people wouldn't think that's cold. Most people would be comfortable. I am freezing. I have my beanie cap. I have my sweatshirt. This is why in one of my other videos I said I struggle with sitting in an office, because most offices are kept at like 65 to 68 degrees. That feels like an ice storm to me. And having to wear professional attire and not being able to wear like a cozy sweatshirt or like layered up, I really struggle with being in the office, being cold all the time. Looking back at all these things just makes me wonder why nobody took me to get some diagnosis, whether it was like anxiety, depression, autism, whatever, OCD, whatever. Like, somebody should have brought me to the doctor and said, what is going on? This is not a diagnostic tool. This is not, I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, so this is my own experience and what kind of led me to getting my diagnosis. If anything resonates with you, or you start thinking like, I did that too when I was a kid, maybe go talk to a professional or do some more research online about it. What led me to get my diagnosis is talking to other people. They were open about their autism or ADHD or neurodivergent. When I was actually talking to other people, then I was starting to do more research online and read about it, and that's what led me to my diagnosis. So go talk to people, go watch more videos, go read some books about autism. So I wanted to share like 5 things that I remember as a kid that I think should have been signs of being autistic, but nobody noticed. Number 1, I was very, very, very quiet outside of our home and outside of family members. My parents told me I talk so much at home, but I talk too much. They were always like, why are you talking so much? Please stop. But then when we would go out in public, or I would go to school or anywhere that wasn't at home or with family members, I would just zip it. And like my parents would try to introduce me to people, like their friends or something, and they would say, oh, hey, come say hi. And I would just hide behind them kind of, and I would just say really quietly, hi. And then they would, the adults would say, how are you? And I would say, I'm good. Because I didn't know how to communicate outside of my home, because any communication outside of my home or with my family members was scary, because people have such different ways of communicating that I didn't fully understand. At school, when I started kindergarten, my teachers, kindergarten through elementary school, my teachers really loved me. They were like, you're so quiet, you're so good, you do all the things we ask you to do. But I didn't have friends. I had a couple of other kids that I talked to sometimes, but I didn't really get invited to play games with them or to do jump rope with them. It often felt like I had to interject myself. And it often felt like anytime I tried to interject myself, they would like kind of back off. And I never could figure that out. Also, going to sleepovers, I didn't understand that. I went to a couple and I absolutely hated it. I didn't have my own bed. I didn't have my own stuff. And I absolutely hated it. I could not relax at sleepovers. I stayed up all night. I didn't sleep because I was worried that the other kids were going to do something mean. I wasn't really invited to parties, birthday parties, except for maybe a couple times. And my parents would like drop me off, and then I would want to go home within like 10 minutes. But they had already left, so I had to stay there, and it was such a struggle. I was like, I don't want to be here. I didn't know how to talk to other kids. I always felt like I was on the outside looking at like a movie. Like the other kids were like having a good time, eating their birthday cake, roller skating, if it was at the roller skating rink. And I didn't know how to get in on that. I didn't know how to get in that group. So, yeah, the struggling to make friends, the quiet, the not knowing how to talk to people, even though I talked at home with no problems, I feel like that probably should have been a sign of something. Something was going on. Number 2, things that felt good to me looked really weird to other people. I had habits that calmed me down and looked super weird to other people. Like, for example, I'm going to take my hat off to show you. For example, I twist my hair, and I did this when I was a kid, exactly just like this. My bangs are a little shorter now. But I would twist a piece of hair, stick my pinky through it. This looks like a gang sign. What the fuck? And then do this. Bup, 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 bup. And my hair, I would make the loop really long when I was a kid, and it would flap, 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 flap. And my mom was like, "Why are you flapping your hair at me?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just like it. It just feels good." And so when I went to school, kindergarten and stuff, I was doing that, and all the other kids thought that was super fucking weird. And so I learned to not do that when I was in school, which made me struggle with focus, because when I do that at home, I could read a book. When I can't do that in class for fear of other people judging me, I couldn't focus on the reading or the assignment, whatever we were doing. So that was, yeah, stimming. Also at home only, I couldn't do this at school because it was really weird and loud. At home, I would clap, 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 all throughout the house. And my mom would get so mad because that's fucking annoying. I thought it felt good and I thought it sounded good, but she was super annoyed by it, obviously. I don't blame her. But I would just walk through the house, clap, just for like 10 minutes straight, over and over and over. And so, there's a lot of like people will diagnose kids based on like a flapping motion. Like if you do like flapping with your hands, that's typically what is associated with stimming for autistic kids. But for me, it was the hair flapping and the clapping, I think, should have gotten me diagnosed. I think the hair flapping, that was fucking weird, and nobody else did that. I saw like other girls like would twirl their hair down here, but the flapping, nobody else I've ever seen do that. I don't know, maybe other autistic people do it and I just haven't heard of it, but yeah, that's definitely something I think should have got me diagnosed. At school, like in elementary school, there was like monkey bars, and there was a bar, horizontal bar, and I would put my sweatshirt on it and I would put my leg over it, and I would spin on like the inside of my knee, spin, 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 spin. And I would do that the entire recess. Didn't stop. At some point, my teachers were like, "You got to give somebody else a turn." And that really upset me, because when I started trying to give other people turns, like I never got a turn. It was like the line for the monkey bars was so long that I would never get a turn, and that really upset me, because I feel like that recess of me spinning helped me regulate myself so that after recess I could go back and sit inside the classroom. I was very upset going up in the grades, like 5th grade. You don't have access to that part of the playground anymore. You're out somewhere else where there's like a big field and there's like basketball courts, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to spin on the bars, but I couldn't because I was too old. I would also run around the house on my tippy toes, bounce around, running around the house on my tippy toes all the time. So like these behaviors, like I remember people commenting on this stuff. My mom, my dad, everybody around me would comment on this. Why are you walking on your tippy toes? That's bad for your feet. Why are you flapping your hair? That's weird. Why are you clapping? That is so loud. That's so annoying. So I think I had learned at a very young age that I need to control these behaviors because other people don't like them. So masking. Number 3, my stuffed animals, my toys. My stuffed animals were not just toys. They were my friends. I talked to them. They had names. They had personalities. They each had their own little friend groups. I had so many stuffed animals. They were all lined up in a very particular way because maybe Tony the tiger is not friends with Chip the sea lion or something. Like, so I had a very specific way of arranging them, and if anybody moved them, I would get so upset. I needed those stuffed animals to come with me on trips, family vacations, and it wasn't just a couple of animals. It was like 2 garbage bags full of stuffed animals. I needed to bring them with me anytime we stayed over somewhere. We took trips to like Disneyland, and a few times we went to Las Vegas, and I needed to bring them all with me. I wanted, as a kid, I remember wanting to arrange them very nicely in like a suitcase or a box or something, and my mom and my dad was like, "We'll just throw them in a trash bag." And I thought that they were going to suffocate. Literally, I was like, "No, they're alive. They're gonna die." And my parents were like, "No, they're fine." I remember this vividly. One time my mom dropped a stuffed animal when we were lugging them all to the hotel room, which that should have been a red flag. But my parents went along with it for some reason. Anyway, I remember she dropped one in the parking lot as we were lugging them. It fell out of the bag and she like stepped on it and she almost tripped and fell. And I was not worried about her. I was like, "You're fine." I was flipping out that my stuffed animal, an actual real animal, had dropped on the ground and got stepped on. And I was like comforting this stuffed animal. Like, thinking back on it, I was just like, why nobody took me to a therapist? Just beyond me. I would take them, I got invited to one sleepover. I took them with me to that sleepover. And this is why I said earlier I hate sleepovers, because the other girls were making fun of me and thought it was super weird, and they took some of my stuffed animals and they were like tossing them back and forth like a joke. I was so upset. That next morning, as soon as it was time to like get up and like have breakfast or whatever, I called my dad. I was like, "I need you to come pick me up. I don't want to be here." And he came pick me up, and I don't think I've ever went to a sleepover again. Number 4, hyperfocus and repetition. Repetition, hair flapping, clapping, spinning. Hyperfocused. When I love to do something, I did it again and again and again and again and again and again, and I never got tired of it. I played Super Mario Brothers for hours. Like, when my mom was like, "Oh, I want to watch TV," because we only had one TV at the time, because this was in the early 90s. She was like, "I want to watch TV," and I was like, "No, I gotta play this video game." I would get obsessed, and if I didn't beat a level, I would play and play and play and play and play until I beat that level. Super obsessed, super hyper focused, and repeat until I beat the level. I would read the same books over and over and over. The Babysitter's Club series. If it wasn't in the Babysitter's Club series, I probably didn't want to read it. And I would go through each of those books, and then I would go back to number 1. Christy's Great Idea, if you know the Babysitter's Club books. And I would read that, and then I would read the next book, and the next book in the series, and the next book, and I would collect those books, and it had to be Babysitters. And when I'd finish those, I'd go back to the first one and do it again and again and again. Chronological order. Also, with conversations with people, my mom or my dad or my family members, I would go to my room and repeat those conversations out loud from like their words and my words. I would repeat. And one time my mom thought that I was mocking her, and I probably did sound like I was mocking her. And maybe I was, I don't remember exactly, but I remember going to my room and needing to hash these conversations out over and over and over and try to understand what was being said and how I could have responded, or the way I responded, or like just trying to understand. And I needed to do that out loud. And my mom heard me and she thought I was mocking her, and I got in trouble. And I couldn't figure out why I was in trouble. I was just trying to understand the words that were being said. I probably did sound like I was mocking her because I was upset also. I still do that. I have to rehash conversations over and over and over and over, especially if a conversation upsets me. I go to my room and I say that the part of the person and I say my part, and I just do that over and over and over. So, yeah, hyper-focused over and over and over and over. So these repetitive behaviors, obsessive behaviors, things that look super weird to other people. And number 5, school completely drained me. And I still struggle with this when I have a full-time job too. By the time I got home from school, I was done. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to go out with friends. I had a couple of neighbor friends that once in a while they would ask me to come ride bikes and stuff. I couldn't do that after school. I was too exhausted. I couldn't do my homework because as soon as I got home, I would have a snack or have some food and take a nap. And I would sleep. And then I would get up when it's dinner time, eat, and then watch some TV and then go to bed. I didn't have any brain power or energy to do anything else. I struggled with attendance because of this, because it was so draining. I always wanted to be alone after school. So I would go to the other room and I would fall asleep on the couch. Every time. And then attendance became super difficult for me. And at some point in middle school, I just stopped even trying to do work. I always felt like I didn't understand what was going on in school. And if it wasn't something interesting, I didn't want to do it. Like if we were reading a book that I wasn't interested in, I didn't want to do it. I found it so horrible. My parents actually pulled me out of school in 7th grade with the intention to homeschool me, which never happened. So I basically became an adult with a 7th grade education. I sat at home watching TV shows, the same TV shows over and over and over. I would watch TV all day, every day, up until I was like 17. So I was living my best life, being at home alone with the TV, doing the things that I wanted to do and not having to socialize with people. Yeah, I always thought that my problems with socializing were from me being raised as mostly an only child and also from me being pulled out of school. But making this video and writing all these things down, I was struggling with socializing before being pulled out of school. And I think that struggling with the socializing is why I struggled with school, which led me to be pulled out of school. I think my parents did that with the intention of helping me or protecting me or something, but I struggled with school and I was pulled out in 7th grade. And I ended up getting my GED when I turned 18, and I ended up going into community college and then college, and I got my math degree. So leaving school in 7th grade didn't affect my intelligence. I was still able to read and write and study and do basic math and even go and get my degree in mathematics. And I got my master's in education. So it was just the socializing that affected me. So people, when I tell that story to people, they're like, wow, your parents pulled you out of school in 7th grade? Didn't give you any homeschooling? No, they never did. They were supposed to buy some books, but they were so expensive and we were poor. So it just didn't happen. And then every year just passed and it just didn't happen. Yeah, so a lot of these things still show up as an adult. I still do this. I still flap my hair, turn around, I still clap. I love being home alone. I've been with my partner for 20 years, but I need alone time because I need to clap or I need to hair flap or I need to do my stimming or whatever, or I need a break from socializing. And I can do that. I can do my hair flapping. I can walk around on my toes. I do all this shit still. And this is also why I struggle with full-time employment. It just drains me. I go to work for 8 hours, socialize with people, do the job, and I crash when I get home. I can't cook myself dinner. I just crash. I can't do anything else. I can't go to dance class when I have a full-time job. And that is something in the last 4 years that has brought me so much joy. I had a full-time job last year, and I tried to keep up with dance classes after work, but at some point I was like, I can't go to dance class. I can't socialize anymore with people. My brain is full, and I can't learn choreography, and I can't do these pole tricks, and I can't listen to the instructor because my brain is full from being at work for 8 hours. So I'm really hoping that I can make this YouTube channel work. Please, because I just need to be at home. And if this doesn't work, I will need to get a remote job. And those are becoming harder and harder to come by because all the employers want people to work in the office. And I'm over here like, I cannot sit in your 65-degree ice box with professional attire that doesn't keep me warm, and under the fluorescent lights and under the interruptions and the noise of the printer and the socializing with people. I cannot do that for 8 hours a day and still maintain the things that actually make me happy. So anyway, please leave me some comments. Did you have any of these things happen when you were a kid, or do you do these things now, or does any of this like resonate with you? Yeah. When did you, I want to know other people's stories. I want to know, when did you get diagnosed with autism? Or are you currently thinking about getting a diagnosis? Or, yeah, just do you have your own story about this? Leave me some comments. Like and subscribe. I think this video turned out pretty good. I had my list, and yeah. We're going to get better at this because I would love to talk about my special interests in the comfort of my own home on the internet and make money for it. That would be amazing. So, okay, bye.